All right, so a couple of things. I'll just do a fairly quick thing. There's 3 points I want to make. I want to talk about the 5 tops. That would be these. And I want to talk about team sports, because that's probably, given Sunday night's event, it was probably a good time to talk about that. And the 80% rule. So those are the 3 things I want to talk about. And I want to start with the 5 tops because I like visuals. I love good graphic. But something you can hold on to, something you can actually touch, that maybe is a solid analogy for the thing you want to keep in your mind is sometimes useful. And I like this one for the framework. I actually like it a lot. And let me tell you why. I learned some things about tops you might not know that make this fit really well. One thing about tops that you might not know is to get all 5 of those spinning at the same time and keep them that way takes a pretty deliberate effort. Right? If you ignore one for a little while, it falls over. And half the time if it falls over, it hits another one. So it falls over. So like the framework, where you need to keep your eye on all 5 pieces, the tops are the same way. You need to keep your eye on all 5 of them. And just like with the framework, if you haven't been in this space, you need to start. Right? You just need to start one. It's the same with the top. You must just start with one. Another thing about tops that are maybe relevant to this conversation is a top in free space. To get it spinning, it has to have context. It has an environment. It's on the surface. And I think the framework is the same thing. As a document, it's fine. As a chart, it's cute. But if it's going to be useful, it's going to do what it's supposed to do, it has to be placed into context. And that means you need to somehow take the elements in the framework and think about them in the context of your own organization. Right? Cybersecurity is risk management, and risk management is always contextual. Other things, it's worth some money, but not a whole lot. Or some elements of risk may be worth a lot, and others less so. And if you don't do that analysis, it isn't going to fit. It isn't a cookie cutter. But only you really understand your context if you're a building owner, and if you're dealing with a building owner who doesn't, as a contractor or a supplier, you probably have some insight that would be useful to them. The last thing about the tops that maybe fits this is if you had the right tools, you could measure these things and find out they're identical in dimension to something like 0.001 millimeters. They're really very precise. And yet they're not the same. And it's not just the color that's different. Some are much easier to spin than others. I didn't know that either until I tried it, but it turns out the ones that are lighter spin a lot better than the ones that are heavy. It really does take a different twist. It takes a lot more effort and a lot more attention to keep them spinning. And the same is true with the framework. Own set to, if you want your 5 minutes to work. Possible for the team. Probably that's an industry thing. We haven't really even who that is in the campus. Both the individual and the team are pretty different. So it's one of those cases where it's important to kind of bring it to anything now, even without that. As a supplier, you certainly can think about it. And how can you be helpful to a customer who isn't as far along in their understanding of cybersecurity as you are? In the context of an industry group, it's not too hard to put that together for the type of customer that you deal with. As a building owner and operator, of course, you start with learning. You can start with thinking about how your organization relates IT and OT expertise. And what would a team look like in your organization that would actually be able to encompass both of those as the cybersecurity team really has to do. Of industry initiatives that bring multiple players and companies together to get something done that we all need done. Right, the BACnet International Initiative around BACnet SC is one of those. The Cybersecurity Protect Isometrics is equally important. And there's going to be more. Right? There are going to be industry initiatives that bring people and organizations together. And we need to drive those. Because I don't think there's any individual company, certainly no individual person, who can drive this industry where it needs to go. It needs to be a collective action, and that part's our responsibility, I think, of all of us. Last thing I want to talk about is the 80% rule. And it's probably misnamed, because in this case it's probably which is all of the technology and techno-speak and And stuff we've talked about today is of zero value for 90% of data breaches. Right? All that technical stuff doesn't help. It's really because that's the culture that actually will allow us to maintain cybersecurity. Right? The culture that says, of course I need to change my password, rather than, seriously, you want me to change my password? Again, it's only been a year. Right? I mean, it's a cultural difference, and we have to get there as an industry. And that's a much bigger part of the problem than the technical pieces, especially in the short term. And I think that for building owner-operators, the good thing about that is they don't have to wait. Right? There's no technical development that needs to happen. There's no new product that needs to be created and invented and supplied. They just need to be aware. As suppliers, we can help make them aware, maybe give world in IT. And OT students understand there's a bigger world than OT. 80% of the problem that looks like 5%. So as you leave here, certainly take away the to you, take it out. Because those are all key elements in a view of cybersecurity that you have to have between the two. And finally, think about what cybersecurity and the framework means in the context of your own organization, to be put in context of your own organization to really get the value out of it. And that's all.
Thanks, Andy. Go up and down the table, or maybe up once, and just get some closing comments from each of you. Maybe you can start, Jim, just some brief comments.
First off, thank you all very much for going the distance. I know it's a long time to stay engaged in a topic, but it's the beginning of a long journey. I'd also like to thank Anto for doing a great job of arranging the conference this year, so let's have a hand for Anto.
Robert? Sure. I think, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for your attention. It was great. I think we're on a continuous improvement process, obviously, in this industry around cybersecurity. I think we're moving along bit by bit. It's going to take probably a bit of a significant effort to really make it embedded into our culture. As we've said many times, it's a people problem, not necessarily a product problem. But I think we're getting there. It's exciting times. And in fact, the fact that more and more devices are converging, being connected, the occupant experience is getting more demand from users and how they interact with buildings and how they interact with the systems within the buildings. It's only more prevalent that cybersecurity really takes center stage, because as people are constantly connected with the devices that they have to their environment, cybersecurity needs to be at the forefront to make sure that data and systems are protected.
Great. Okay.
Well, I'm really encouraged because really what I've seen the past 5 years is a growing awareness. Great questions from our customers, which is also a great sign that they're thinking about cybersecurity in that way, which is going to help our industry a lot. Finally, I just had a good time discussing this today, as well as what you didn't see is we had a number of phone calls where we discussed these topics, and so it seems like I know this was a 4-hour session, and I 4 hours, but it could have easily been days, because this is a lot of weighty material, and hopefully we were able to boil it down easily for you.
Steve?
Really just dittoing a lot of what Kevin just said. For me, I sort of left the industry about 6 years ago, got into the IT business specifically, and then last year I've come back in, and I really have seen the awareness meter go up substantially in that period of time, and I think this panel has done a terrific job of sharing not just their experience, but their awareness of all the different aspects. And I applaud everybody here for the effort that they've made here today. I hope you have able to take the value out of it, because there's a lot of good things that have been said here today.
Thanks, Steve. Andrew?
Well, I think what we all learned today is that cybersecurity is not only a topic that manufacturers like us need to solve. It's a process issue, and these processes need to be established, need to be filled with life. Coming back to the topic that I started with in the morning, again, I see this is a big with their information into people's mind, and there's more momentum. Find good ways to establish this kind of
Thanks. Karen?
Yeah, I guess study the framework. It's a really good tool. There's a lot there. It's free to use, you know. So maybe you are, but you know, if that's really important for the plans and education, like the others have said.
That friend a while back, and we talked about it on our phone calls because in a lot of elements in work and that we've had. I think the same is true here for cybersecurity. There's experiences you've had, there's one you've heard about, there's one you hope you never have. And having the framework allows you to sort of put them in context. Where do they fit in this world, and how would I build systems that would prevent the ones I don't want and encourage the ones I do? And having a framework makes that a whole lot simpler. I too would think it's a framework. At least read the few introductory pages of each one. If you want an easier task, and there is an easier task, I'd start with the articles, the New Deal articles, and a blog, because that gives you easier entry point into some of those topics. But understanding those topics at least a high level is a really useful thing.
Jerry?
Yeah, and you know, Andrew, thanks for putting this together. This is my first opportunity to sit on this panel and sitting among these other experts. And the point I'd like to share with everybody is the framework is a good tool. It is free. Okay, it is a great place to start from a cost perspective. But we talked a lot about cybersecurity today in the context of our buildings and in our industry, right? But it's really not that. As soon as we walk out of this room, I can't remember who said we touch our phones 400 times a day. I mean, we're all dealing with cybersecurity pretty much every second of our waking day, right? And part of this, it's taking hold of it at your home life, your personal life, how you interact with your electronics. And the great thing with your phone, whether it's the next Johnson Controls controller, what next AMC thing, next Tozzy box, you know, whatever it is, there's some cool stuff that is really being introduced to our industry and personally. But we have to be responsible, right? We have to be responsible in how we use these devices, interact with these devices, in systems for our customers and for the world. So use this as a starting point if you're starting. Use this as your next opportunity to engage further if you're already on the path. Thanks, it's been fun.
Dave?
It's interesting to compare like this year to last year. It seemed like the awareness is really keeps on growing exponentially, and that we get a lot of good insights and experience from the audience as well in that, and we're happy to kind of facilitate that. But you know, it reminds me of this is kind of a really big industrial team effort. It's not just the different manufacturers or even competing against one another or with one another in a way. but it really is a big team effort, and we can learn a lot from each other. So just get out and get educated and go to conferences. And you know, I'm ready to drink some beer with anybody anytime you want.
So, thanks, Dave.